What if the financial rules we've all been taught to follow are actually a trap? That's the question at the heart of an analysis from the Easy Economics channel called the 2026 Global Economic Reset. And today, we're going to break down its pretty shocking predictions and its step-by-step survival guide.
So the source kicks things off with this really bold claim. It's basically saying, hey, this economic reset, it isn't some far-off event you need to prepare for. We are already in it. You know that financial playbook our parents and grandparents followed? Well, according to this analysis, it's time to throw it out the window.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at what the source calls the four big threats: this perfect storm, how our money is being reprogrammed, the AI labor shock, and something called the everything bubble. Then, once we really get a handle on the problems, we'll dive into the proposed solutions. Okay, so let's dig into this idea of a perfect storm. What is that exactly? Well, the analysis says it's three massive forces all hitting us at the exact same time, and they're shaking up the very foundations of how our money works, what our jobs are worth, and how stable the whole financial system is. Now, here's where it gets kind of wild. The analysis claims this storm is kicking off the single biggest transfer of wealth in all of human history. Seriously. And the money is flowing away from everyday people who hold their savings in cash and towards a whole new class of people, the ones who control real, physical things and artificial intelligence. All right, the first part of this storm has to do with something we barely even think about: the money in our bank accounts. The source argues that the very definition of money is being rewritten right under our noses, and what that means for our savings and our privacy is massive. So the central idea here is this shift away from what the source calls neutral money, like a $20 bill in your wallet, to programmable money, also known as central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. And the difference is huge. With programmable money, whoever issues it could, in theory, build rules into your money. They could control how you spend it, where you spend it, and maybe even give it an expiration date to force you to spend it faster. And this leads to a concept the source calls the fishbowl effect. Just imagine for a second that your entire financial life, every single thing you buy, every dollar you earn, is happening inside a glass fishbowl for central authorities to watch. That's the kind of transparency and, let's be honest, control that we're talking about here. Now, beyond that issue of control, the other big threat is one we're all feeling: inflation. And the source has this incredible metaphor for it: the ice cube analogy. It says that holding cash right now is just like holding an ice cube in your hand. You might not see it shrinking second by second, but you know for a fact that it is constantly, steadily melting away. And this is where the math just gets painful. You might look at your savings account and see your earnings say 5% interest, and you feel pretty good about that. But the source argues that the real inflation, the price increases on stuff you actually need to buy, like food and gas, is way higher, maybe closer to 10%. It's a trap, right? You're mathematically guaranteed to be losing buying power every single day, even when you think you're saving. Okay, so if your money is losing value, the traditional answer is, well, I'll just earn more of it. But here's the thing. The second huge disruption this analysis points to, the AI labor shock, attacks that very solution. According to the source, the whole conversation around AI has completely changed. It's not just a fun tool that writes emails anymore. It's now capable of handling entire professional workflows from start to finish, and it's coming for the white-collar, professional jobs first. And just look at the jobs listed here. This isn't about robots on a factory floor. The source is pointing directly at highly skilled roles. Things like coding, legal work, accounting, the exact kind of jobs we were all told were the safe, secure career paths. The source warns that this is creating a massive divide in the economy. On one side, you have the people who own the capital and tell the AIs what to do. And on the other side, you have people whose jobs can now be done by AI. This isn't just a skills gap. The source says it's a chasm that's going to pour gasoline on the fire of wealth inequality. And that brings us to the final major problem the analysis outlines: this huge systemic risk that it calls the everything bubble. The source says this is a bubble like we've never seen before. It's not just a housing bubble or a tech stock bubble, it's an everything bubble. Stocks, bonds, real estate, pretty much all of it is seen as being wildly inflated, not because the economy is booming, but because of decades of printing money and piling on cheap debt. And here's a really critical point the source makes. Most of our wealth, the money in our bank, our retirement accounts, our bonds, are what it calls paper assets. What does that really mean?
Well, they're not physical things. They're basically just promises. A dollar is a promise from the government. A stock is a promise from a company. And the big danger, it warns, is that in a real crisis, promises can get broken.
Okay, so, wow. That's a pretty scary picture. Your money's at risk, your job's at risk, it's a lot. And that brings us to the second half of this analysis. After painting this grim picture, the source pivots to its action plan. What can you actually do about all this? Now, the solution here isn't about just burying your head in the sand and hoping it all goes away. No, it's a proactive, three-pillar defense strategy. It's designed to completely reposition your finances for what the source sees as this new reality.
And here's the framework. It's actually really simple. Number 1, exit the system. That means don't keep all your eggs in one basket, or in one currency or one country's banking system. Number 2, acquire hard assets. Move your money into things that can't just be printed out of thin air. And number 3, and this is crucial, develop a human edge. Double down on the skills that AI can't do, like creativity, critical thinking, and leadership.
So what exactly are these hard assets? Well, the source points to 3 main categories. You've got gold and silver, which have been a store of value for thousands of years. You've got Bitcoin as a decentralized digital option that no government controls. And then you've got real estate, because it's a tangible thing that people will always need. The one thing they all have in common, they're finite. No one can just hit a button and create more of them, which makes them a potential shield against runaway inflation. All right, let's bring this all home. When you boil it all down, what's the single most important message from this whole survival guide? The core idea is that this massive shift is a double-edged sword. Yes, there is incredible risk for people who stick to the old ways, but there's also immense opportunity. The source claims that for the people who really understand these new rules and act on them, this isn't just about getting through it. It's a once-in-a-lifetime chance to build real generational wealth. The source leaves us with this really powerful thought. The message isn't that the sky is falling. The message is that the world is changing. It argues that we're living through one of those major turning points in history, and the world that comes after is going to play by a completely different set of rules. So we've just broken down the analysis from the Easy Economics channel, and its argument that the old rules just don't apply anymore leaves all of us with one final and pretty urgent question. Are you prepared to adapt?